Creation without rumination, I don't know how to do yet. Why is that coming to mind? Well, I think it's that I need to heal the way that I have created for the past years. I think my art was enabling the ruminations that I had. And I think that's dangerous because art is one of the best ways that I know to think and understand. If I'm painting, I am thinking in a tangible way. I'm thinking about creation without rumination. Creation without rumination. I don't like how that sounds when I say that. Creation without rumination. I'm getting caught up on that, but the reason why I'm thinking about this is because painting or creating is the only tangible way I can access and develop my thoughts. I don't know if it's because of the discovery aspect it is with abstract art. It's kind of this exploration in how you understand the materials to work with each other as well as the color. It's just the exploration of all these objects on one medium, the canvas. That's what I'm trying to say. But there's something about this act that just makes my brain think and understand in a way. That's what I'm trying to explore. My idea or epiphany about how I created and enabled my rumination and fears and sadness for years because of the way I created. But that's also just because of who I am as a person. But I enabled myself by creating out of my sadness for a long time. Granted, I feel like I was processing the sadness, so I wouldn't, maybe I'm not giving myself enough credit by saying enabling. I feel that it might put a negative connotation. So I shall say it helped me process my sadness and grievances about existence. I was using it in a way to understand myself and develop my thoughts, but I think it came from a lens and perspective of not liking myself, and I think that's what my confrontation was for the first 2 or 3 years that I was painting. I think a lot of my journals at this time, a lot of identity problems then. This painting was the entity that I am. It's really hard to show. Maybe I'll take a close up. But, I write things like stuck on trying to be or not. Maybe this is it and I'll always be searching longingly for more, but it is in my best but it is my best and stuck on the trying and how to live life aspirationally, the goal towards the goal. I don't know, it just sounds like I didn't have the right headspace. What feels wrong, we can change. The song. What feels wrong, we can change. The song. When things go wrong. The world doesn't make much sense anyways. Artist that I'm meant to be. Breath of fresh air. Life's just happening, hard to hold on to. Another song. Documenting life until something goes wrong. I'm trying to hold on to this life of mine. Let me see it through. A different song. Do I have a vision? Talking to me through these songs. I guess I wrote kind of lyrically, but this is the kind of thought I would have while painting. And I think I'm observing that I couldn't really, I think this is my beginning to learn how to articulate. You guys! Don't get me wrong, like, I could talk when I was 22. Like, I was talking and I was communicating with people, but I guess my ability to articulate my own thoughts were sounding like this while I was painting. So obviously I could articulate some things, but I think this is like a very, I think this is an example of why I have trouble existing in this world. Because holy shit, I'm just unable to write a coherent thought down. This is the second journal after I finished this journal because I was like, okay, maybe I should journal a little more. I don't know if I should read this out loud, but I guess what my journal suggests is that I spend a lot of time ruminating, and that's what all of this is. And all of the art that I started to make after I graduated college, taking my painting and creativity a little bit more seriously, I developed my artistic practice through ruminating, and that's where I took my inspiration from. And now that I've grown and I am in my third year of this discovery, this desire for this path. I don't know if that's a good way to say it, but my want for this journey of creativity to be what I pursue in life, I have to change the way that I approach my art, and I have to think about my relationship to how I access creativity. And I guess I literally gave myself all the answers I need on how I should fix my approach to art by reading this and being able to face this. I'm just realizing that, and that kind of scares me, honestly. I think these two books in particular, I have read them before, but not recently. And I do like to go back and read them once a year, so I think this journal is probably about 2 years old now. And then last year I wrote every single day. And on the start of this year, 2025, I read all of the things that I wrote in 2024. So this is about like 2022 and 2023, which is like when I was pretty disorganized with journaling. But I think this one kind of hurts to read the most because I feel at this time I was most unaware of my behavior, maybe, and I have to look back at myself and just cringe a little bit. But I think that's part of learning to hold yourself preciously and forgive yourself. Because that's how you grow as a human. I have a very easy time forgiving other people, but I think that being able to forgive yourself means you could also forgive other people, but I feel like not everyone struggles with that. You know what I mean? I think the struggle is forgiving ourselves, but being able to forgive other people more easily is more widely a problem. Maybe that's just my assumption, maybe that's not true. But these books are here to tell me that I used to create from rumination. And these days, I have trouble with creating without those ruminations, I guess. And I've been working on learning to create without that, or attempting to learn at least. I still find it hard for me to paint. This painting, I think I have an easier time because this is a planned composition. I did it as a thumbnail. This is the thumbnail, and it was for my mom's friend. She wanted to buy a painting. I have this composition because when I was spending some time with her recently, she also is on her own spiritual journey, and I thought that was such a coincidence that she also has been thinking about the law of attraction and manifestation and kind of experiencing that perspective of life as well. And that's something that I have been experiencing for the past maybe 2 or 3 years. So it was just really interesting to speak to her about this, especially because she's a Japanese woman and my mom is also Japanese, and I communicate with her in that language, but I grew up in the US, so my Japanese isn't good. So it was just really wonderful to be able to meet someone who could explain these concepts and ideas to my mom, just because I think there's something that she could find value in. So I was just really delightfully surprised, and I can really feel her energy and like the energy I feel in the room when I get to talk with her, because she's so wonderful. And this is kind of what I am drafting up, but that's why I have this image. But I think when it's for myself, of what I want to paint for myself, I have trouble kind of creating this kind of image. And I think it's telling in the way that I used to paint, which is kind of splotching the colors on and letting them move around. That's like pretty indicative of I don't quite know what to say, and I also don't feel comfortable enough to paint on the canvas. Should I be analyzing my art while I make art? Or is that stopping the creative process? Or is this just my creative process? Is art my talk and my thoughts? Or is that what being a conceptual artist is? I don't know if this is very conceptual though, because this isn't necessarily a concept. I mean, maybe. Well, I think this could be considered a concept. This is a painting concept. My exploration of thought and kind of transcript. It is hard to paint for myself without ruminating. And I just have to like sit in this discomfort while I develop a new way to create and continue practicing it. And it feels kind of painful. Honestly, I kind of shy away from it. I don't know. I just feel like, I don't know. I just can't help but be really critical of myself and like think like, oh, this is really stupid, what you're making, things like that, before I can even get in the flow of creativity. I get in the way. I think why I also struggle to be alone is that I struggle to have the ability to maintain thought. I think that's something that's very hard for me when I'm alone, and that might be why I like hanging out with people. I think my mind can make itself make sense if it has to, because it's bouncing off another person. Maybe the other person asks a lot of clarifying things, but maybe that's why I enjoy being around other people. And yeah, that would explain why I was really reliant on the perceptions of my friends, because I did not feel that I was accurately perceiving my reality. That is something I feel that I'm learning this year, that I can actually accurately perceive my reality. So I'm pretty proud of that for myself. But I think I'm also getting used to the fact that I do in fact perceive reality correctly. But I think it was that I've been doubting my perception for a long time. So it's kind of like recovering that sense of esteem. Basically, all my problems stem from shame, low self-esteem, and self-hatred. And I just have to explore each path of exactly how that made me that way in order to heal it. I definitely think in the past this was more prevalent, but I definitely used to find it hard to work hard for myself, to want to succeed for myself. It was always in the thought of others. It would be, maybe if I do this, I'll matter. Maybe if I do this for them, I'll matter. I let my worth be placed on other people. People that should not have had it and people that aren't supposed to have it. But I think as a kid, you don't really know that. It's what you do. It's almost instinctual if that's the way that you grew up. If you've grown up in a set of circumstances that kind of breeds that belief. I'm just trying to explain where this comes from and where my creation comes from. Part of that might be from my confidence of being able to perceive reality correctly and be in control of how I feel about them. I think that's something that I struggled with a lot in life. So that's probably where a lot of my problems come from. Problems like, basically you internalize everything onto yourself. You don't take your anger out on other people, you take your anger out on yourself. So I think now that I have the confidence that I know how I'm seeing reality is objectively, I can stick with my truth and not be convinced of others or abandon my feelings because of how someone else sees it or how someone else feels. I think that is part of validating myself. And I think maybe making like songs would be self-validating. Especially like saying it out loud too. I think I was afraid to think for a long time. And I was afraid to think when I first started painting. So that is a reason of why I'm exploring or starting to explore song. I definitely don't feel confident in it at all. But I hope one day I can feel confident in that. I think it'll take time. I wonder if it would take 10 years though, because I would like to get a little confident at it sooner. But that is up to me. I decide that by deciding how much I want to practice it. I like the star. This is almost exactly how I imagined it to be when I was planning this out. This is just what absolute faith and trust in myself feels. It feels like there's no weight. There's no weight on my shoulder. And I think it took having that conversation to feel that and feel that energy. It's important to connect with people. Don't isolate yourself. There's a lot of wonderful things that you'll miss out on. Wonderful conversations, wonderful people to connect with. And I think that's what I've really been exploring the past few years. I'm literally practicing my art in the opposite way that I used to, which is creating art out of sadness. Now I'm creating art out of reflecting on the way that I created art in the past, starting with a composition that I made that I found inspiring when talking to a friend, and then putting all my understanding or articulating all my experience and understanding through this kind of predetermined image. But they may all connect in a way that I don't quite see yet. I can't say everything I say with conviction. I probably should, but sometimes in the middle of the sentences I stop making sense to myself. But overall, I would say I got some good thoughts out. I have no idea if I'll post this at all, but if I do post this, thank you guys for watching and listening to me talk. I will challenge myself to do this again, but it might take some time because I'm a little shy, I'm a little nervous, and I'm just learning how to articulate my thoughts out loud without a script. So, bear with me. Thank you.